So, eine
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. It is my honor to welcome you to the Japanische Palais, the Japanese Palace, for today's kick-off made in conference for contemporary design and craft. This takes place also in the context of the European Artistic Crafts Days that are held until April 2nd. We are delighted that we are here and that this is a beautiful kick-off for this entire framework. We'll start early. We're excited. The Japanische Palais is a special venue for hosting such a special conference, and for the Dresden State Art Collections, this is a location that is a symbol of interdisciplinary topics, and that is why crafts is also of utmost importance to the Japanese palace, the Japanische Palais. We have different small workshops, media workshops, textile workshops, and other issues that we would like to present.
Form and beyond. I'm very happy to welcome you today in Dresden, also on the occasion of the European Days of Art Crafts. I think it's a perfect day to make a conference like this today, to bring together all your expertise to debate about the future of crafts. Ja, die Zukunft des Handwerks, keine Zukunft auch.
Future of crafts, well, we cannot discuss that without looking at the past. We will deal with that today. We will briefly discuss why we are here in Dresden and why we try to promote arts and crafts. The Dresden State Art Collections and the different collections of the SKD are based on crafted objects. We have the Kunstkammer, the Chamber of Arts, with a history of more than 500 years, a collection that is quite old, that presents different tools and instruments that have been crafted, and it shows the high quality of these tools. These are still exhibited today, for example, in the Weltsicht and Wissen exhibition at the Dresden Palace or Dresden Castle. For those of you who are visiting Dresden for the first time, maybe you'll have the opportunity to visit this exhibition. We also have the Residency Castle that hosts an interesting exhibition on the reconstruction of Dresden after the Second World War. It also looks at the time of former Eastern Germany. Very important issues for architecture, for example, in terms of reconstruction. It is a very special construction that resembles sacred constructions. The parade chambers have also been reconstructed here in the palace. They have been developed by different craftsmen and women over a time of 300 years, always been restored and renovated. And they combine so many different techniques and methods that have almost been forgotten because they have not been practiced and because they have not been passed on to younger generations. This shows how important it is to really preserve cultural heritage and how museums and other cultural institutions really contribute to keeping crafts alive and to making sure that old techniques and methods are not forgotten and even further developed so that they can also be practiced in the present. Some of you may think that Dresden is the secret capital of German crafts. For example, because the president of the Central Association of Crafts is from Dresden, also from the Association of German Bakers. So you see that Dresden really is a hotspot for crafts knowledge, craftsmanship knowledge, and it shows how enthusiastic we are about passing on this knowledge. However, that enthusiasm is not only restricted to Dresden, but also is true for Saxony, that has a very long-standing history of crafts and arts. Since the 19th century, Saxony really has played a key role for crafts and is known for its material and craftsmanship knowledge. We have a tradition of crafts that goes back more than 200 years, and there's a great connection between crafts and industry, showing that we have such a special cultural heritage that needs to be preserved. Other regions, such as the Ore Mountains, that is known for producing wooden toys and other wooden objects, are part of our identity and show that craftsmanship is still lived up to today. And we will have the chance to have a closer look at that later on today. We will not only talk about that, but really show practical examples. There are other examples of textile crafts in the Alsatian area, in the Lausitz, and other regions in Saxony, where craftsmanship is still playing a key role today. The transformation of crafts and industrial crafts and innovation is key to us. Carl Schmidt comes to mind here, for example. He's known in Dresden with the Dresdner Werkstätten, the Dresden workshops in Hellerau, and for the Dresden Museum of Decorative Arts. This is so important because the 125-year-old history of this furniture company is part of our exhibition. Carl Schmidt is such a good example for a carpenter and for a company that has made craft accessible for a wide audience. Material innovations and new technologies have also played a key role for producing these products based on serial or series production. It is still important for crafts today. And that is why I would like to cordially invite our international guests to have a look at the German workshop in Hellerau. They're still producing these objects for a very specified niche market, in this case, high-quality yachts. And they really combine great material know-how. And this know-how is needed in this niche market.
Und Handwerk.
Craft innovation will also play an important role over the course of the day. And that is also important for the future of crafts. With today's kick-off conference, our goal was, on the one hand side, to give you a good mixture of local and international views and to really bring together different stakeholders, because this exchange is very beneficial to everyone. Over the past years, we have not been able to meet in person due to COVID-19 to really talk about specific questions and issues, to exchange knowledge on different projects. And that is why I imagine that today really gives us a unique opportunity to talk to everyone and to exchange ideas and experiences, or to start new cooperations, which is what we've already done in the past for our former Made In project, to establish a platform that tries to combine contemporary craft design, science, and research. For us, the future lies in this trans and interdisciplinary approach, in combining the different disciplines, tradition and innovation, as well as new challenges when it comes to digitalization and sustainability. These issues will definitely play a key role today as well. I would now like to ask Maya Varja to join me here on the stage, a design and culture curator for the Museum of Architecture and Design in Ljubljana, Slovenia, short MAO, a lead partner of the European project that combines 10 partners across Europe. For the upcoming 2 years, we will cooperate and host different projects at the intersection of crafts and innovation and development. Maya, I would now like to ask you to join me here.
Thank you, Thomas. We are very happy to be here with you today in Dresden to be at the kickoff conference of new edition of Made In, Platform for Contemporary Crafts and Design, that is co-founded by the European Union. Made In Platform is a research, design and heritage initiative encouraging collaboration and knowledge exchange between traditional craftspeople and contemporary designers, as well as other experts in the field of culture and science. The platform addresses two crucial issues related to the culture of making. One is preservation, and the other exploration of new articulations of embodied knowledge found in the rich legacy of European craftsmanship. Interest in crafts, in traditional manufacturing techniques in design, architecture, and the arts is increasing. There are many reasons for this, from excessive industrialization and globalization to digitalization of everyday life and unethical exploration of labor. The Made In platform emerged out of heightened awareness of the crucial role that crafts play in creating and sustaining local identity, its diversity and specifics. Furthermore, crafts have the potential to play a unique role in the transition to innovative, sustainable, circular production models that rely primarily on local resources and skills. The Made In platform thus reflects and supports the increasing number of projects by new generation of designers and environmentalists that are turning their attention to diverse cultures of making in order to create sustainable production processes and material cycles based on the inclusive relationship with the natural environment. Made In platform evolved from an earlier project called Made In Crafts Design Narratives, which ran from 2018 to 2021 with the co-founding from Creative Europe program. And that platform brought together 6 partners from 4 European countries. This earlier small-scale project was a pioneer in mapping the craftspeople in the region and facilitating knowledge exchange between them and designers. The results of the project raised relevant questions about the evolution of crafts and design and the challenges that two fields confront today. Made In platform for contemporary crafts and design builds on the outcomes of the original project to extend its reach, both geographically and in terms of goals and mission. The project now involves 10 partners from 6 countries to form a consortium with a broad range of expertise. The partners are Museum of Architecture and Design and Center Rok from Ljubljana, Slovenia, Zenica City Museum from Bosnia and Herzegovina, State Art Collections Dresden Museum of Decorative Arts from Germany, University of Applied Sciences Zwickau from Schönberg, Germany, Nova Iskra Creative Hub from Belgrade, Serbia, Passa ao Futuro from Lisbon, Portugal, Drugo More from Rijeka, Croatia, and Museum of Arts and Crafts and Oaza from Zagreb, Croatia. Ivana Borovnak and Maja Kolar from Oaza are also the initiators of both editions of Made In platform. The Made In platform is structured as a series of activities, like mapping crafts and craftspeople, mapping expertise and natural resources related to crafts as design. This is the Knowledge Atlas. Exchanging skills and knowledge in residencies, workshops, training courses, and a summer school. Collaborations. Networking through educational and discourse programs in the form of conferences, seminars, and stakeholders events. We call them dialogues. And finally, disseminating of the project outcomes through a publication, a series of exhibitions, and a website. The platform will include more than 1,000 craftspeople, designers, researchers, cultural and scientific professionals, and members of wider audiences. The activities will promote the importance of contemporary design and art practices, innovative technologies, and transdisciplinary thinking in overcoming the perception of craft as non-inventive and obsolete. Instead, we will integrate them into the core of the urgently needed ecological debate. We have an intense 2.5 years in front of us, and we are very glad that we can share with you the start of this exciting journey. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, all 10 project partners are going to present themselves, so I'm sure you will get a very good insight into the diversity of this consortium of partners. You can really see it as a European project that is also developed in other European countries, and that will hopefully move towards the center of Europe. So one point to talk about before we start with our panel discussion. And I'd also like to introduce Kerstin Stöver and Ute Thomas, our two organizers. So please come to the stage so that we can also speak about technical details that this conference day will entail. So basically, you have received the welcome map with the program. That is really a good oversight of what is going to happen today. We are going to have two rounds of impulses, the fast inputs with our international guests, and in the first round, and the second one will be more local, but also international. And in the afternoon, we are going to have a look at the different round table topics. So that will be quite an intensive exchange in the morning, but also then a more practical approach that we take into the afternoon. The topics of the round tables really focus on collaboration, on crafts and society, crafts and technologies. They also center on the transmission of craft knowledge. And yeah, these are all future topics that we will have to deal with, that we as organizers of this conference already see of rising importance. But who knows, at the end of the day, we might have come to very different conclusions, and we will really have a look at the plenary discussion after the round tables where they will present their outcomes. I'd also like to point out two great inputs. We are going to go very high speed throughout the day, and it might not feel very tangible. So we will have two great films by Donata Wenders that our General Director Mara Ackermann is going to present. So these films have been made throughout the last 2 years by really looking at sex and crafts people's businesses. All right, so much regarding the program. Are there any technical issues that you'd like to speak about? Sorry, the speakers of mics, just a second. So there is not a lot of tangible craft here in the room, so please have a look at the welcome packages, so you can also get creative yourself. And there is the opportunity to weave and do a little craft with these welcome packs. There's also a large monitor at the back of the room where we will see films from the Decorative Arts Museum. It is called Myth of Crafts, that has been a cooperation with the Decorative Arts Museum of Frankfurt and the Vorarlberg Museum of Crafts. It was an exhibition that took place from April to September last year in Frankfurt. And the interviews that we have made with craftspeople from those 3 regions are displayed at the back of the room. So it's a really nice mix because the interviews are oriented towards the chapters of the exhibition. Those were really different topics that were quite adverse, like luxury and necessary, local and global. So all those polarities that crafts find themselves in. So we interviewed craftsmen and women, and the results are displayed at the back of the room. One more organizational note. After the panel discussion, we will have a short break. And after that, we are going to start with the fast inputs. Those 2 rounds, they will be very high speed. So it will be rather a longer input session. So if you want to go and have a little walk or take a glass of water, something to drink, so please feel free to leave your seat. It will really be a longer session, so feel free to leave throughout. And then after, just before the lunch break, we will tell you how the roundtables are going to take place. So a great thank you to our 2 organizers. They have really worked very hard to really establish all those detailed program points. So we've really decided on purpose to not have a keynote, but rather have a diverse input, and we wanted to introduce speakers from different areas at the intersection of crafts and other sectors like science and a society at large. They will also have a European as well as a local perspective. So I'd like to introduce Lara Miguel Baumann. She's the Vice President of the World's Craft Council Europe. And of course, she has been working in this sector for many years at bringing crafts to audiences. The World's Crafts Council celebrates its 40th anniversary this year, and only recently they have published a manifesto that we are sure to hear about. I'd also like to come to stage Snuppe van Gwinne. She's an art historian, and she's also an author. She works as a curator and as a blogger with her platform Craft to Europe or Craft to EU. She has been working for many years at the intersection and communication of art, crafts, and other sectors. She works in Leipzig and internationally, where she has in Leipzig a gallery that is named as her blog Craft to EU. I'd like to call to the stage Josephine Hage. She is one of the chief curators of the European Capital of Culture, Chemnitz and Region 2025, and she's responsible for the Makers Business and Art topic there. And so she's going to speak about that perspective, and many of you will know her from Creative Saxony, where she has been working with the topics of crafts and design and industrial cultural heritage for many years. Next on stage is Heinrich Ehnert, who is a blacksmith and industrial designer. He has worked in his parents' workshop. Well, he's not really working there, but he is taking further this tradition of metal work. So this playful approach to metalwork is really something that he does in his work. And a second generation metalsmith who was trained at Japanisches and the Arts and Crafts School of Stockholm, so he will bring in quite a European perspective. Last but not least, Ulrich Gödecke, head of the Department Technology and Innovation Regional Support at the Chamber of Crafts in Dresden. He is also responsible for the Schaufenster, the looking glass for innovation, and the Competence Center of Digital Crafts. So a large thank you to the Chamber of Crafts Dresden. That has really been a great cooperation for bringing about this conference. It has been a great exchange, a great cooperation also in the realms of the European Artistic Crafts Days. And for Lara Miguel Baumann, it is really very special that she has come to Dresden today, because there are many different events on European level going on today. The Chamber of Crafts Dresden has opened an exhibition with the beautiful title, Not Talking, Making. And now we are doing quite the opposite, but let's have a look at the results at the end of the day. So it's really a great exhibition on caricatures, a humoristic approach to crafts, and really this playful side of the sector. So are there microphones? Are they over there?
Die gehen auch schon? Ja, wunderbar.
All right, so the future of crafts, that will be the topic of our first hour of our panel discussion. I already introduced our panelists as passionate actors in craft itself. So people who really are very passionate about crafts topics, who have been working in the sector for many years. And I think you really can only do that if you have kind of a vision, a deeper motivation to really think crafts into the future and to promote it. So apart from the very short introduction that I have made, that might be the first question to our panelists. What are your visions for the crafts? Maybe also reflecting a little on the background of the organizations that you work for, but also your very personal opinion after being active in the sector for so many years. So maybe we shall start with Ms. Baumann. With the Manifesto for the Future of Crafts, you have just started another initiative. It is a 6-point manifesto, if I'm not mistaken, on how crafts can be brought into the future. So maybe you could expand a little on that. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. They told me that I should speak in English, so I'm going to...
Did you understand my question?
Yes. Okay. No problem. But they told me that it's in English. Ich kann auch auf Deutsch sprechen, aber...
No, as you like. You can do English, absolutely.
I'm going for English then.
Everybody hears it in German.
So, well, I saw that partners are from many different countries, so maybe, I don't know. So thank you very much for inviting us, the Workers' Council Europe. We are delighted to be here today. I think discussions about crafts are very important to see what the future is and how we can work in that. So we work in the promotion of crafts in Europe as well, and as you said, we issued a manifesto. It was 5 years ago, because our 40th anniversary was in 2019, not now, and there we wanted to do something special, and we issued the Crafts Manifesto, where we, in a way, wrote down our wishes for the craft sector, and I think that it was a starting point because we want to make EU officials aware of the importance of this sector. And we wrote down a series of things that we thought they were really important. And one of our proposals is to have an European Year for Crafts, so to make visible the importance of the craft sector and how it contributes to our society. And well, we are rewriting this crafts manifesto because it's already 4 or 5 years old, and we want to issue a new one. And we welcome your input as well, so maybe we can all work together to have some ideas and put this on this manifesto. I don't want to take so much time, so I hand over the...
Maybe you just pass it on, which is is easy.
Also die Frage...
So your question pointed towards the personal motivation to promote crafts. So my very personal motivation since the 1980s actually is the people who do crafts, the crafts men and women who are passionate, who burn, be it for something that might be sold on markets. So those people who are experts, who have such a big culture, and well, might often not be part of mainstream. They might sometimes be, but most often they are not of the mainstream. And that, of course, changes over the years. So one example, my gallery, Craft EU for European Crafts, has been opened in 2004 in Hamburg, and that was the result of a European cooperation project, Eurocraft, where they brought together 4 European regions. So that really was a program where I introduced craftspeople in 6 exhibitions in my gallery, and before I had worked for the media, so I also did a lot of media work. I had an internet shop in 2004. Today, of course, this is something quite usual, but at the time it was really avant-garde, and also especially in combination with crafts, to really have a good website, to have a beautiful gallery. And that was something quite extraordinary, and also this focus on online trade. And at the same time, a really a good presentation of crafts. So a confident presentation. It wasn't geared towards markets, but it was really geared on presenting the crafts products as best as possible. I did that for 10 years. And then, yeah, I decided that I had to live on something, so the online trade became more important, as it had done for many years. And that really made me think, so I stopped my location, the gallery. And what has really motivated me for those many years is that all this knowledge, all this passion of the craftspeople should be taken into the future, should be passed on. So the attention for crafts has really been rising in these many years. So artists became interested in crafts, and that movement started in Anglo-Saxon countries, in the UK, and then it kind of came to the continent and to us. And I really hope that this enthusiasm and this passion for crafts, for young designers as an inspiration, will something that we will also see a lot more of in the future. And I'm going to stop here. Thank you. So my approach, or my motivation regarding crafts, is this interdisciplinarity, and that really is my passion. So there are 2 sides, one political side and one business side. At Creative Saxony, we promote crafts and artistic businesses. So the ministry has published numbers on the creative crafts in Saxony, And regarding business numbers as well as sales numbers, it is in Saxony the second most important sector here in Saxony after games and informatics sectors. So that really means that crafts and design is such an important economic pillar, despite digitization and all these other topics that are involved in that area. It is also something that is important for our identity. We have a very large know-how that dates back many centuries, and our mission, of course, is to pass that on for future generations, to make it tangible for young people, to to make them become aware of these topics in the maker scene. And I can see some participants here. So we want to make craft more accessible to young people, and I thought it was great when we met when you were still at Bregenzer Wald. I can also see some colleagues from Riesa that have had a look at your concept of the workshop school. So yeah, really this connection with the young generation, and to make them become passionate about crafts. And in this whole process of being European Capital of Culture, we see that there's a very intense connection between crafts and many other artistic sectors. It is not only design as well, of course, but also there can be so many connections with gamification, with digital creative disciplines. So that we really focus on how those crafts products can be put into a new context. And the last motivation, especially regarding the Chemnitz European Capital of Culture process, we really want to have a shift from just looking at something to making something. We really want the guests to, of course, have a look at exhibitions, but at the same time, we want the guests to really experience this cultural heritage, so that they can really take this heritage into their own hands and thus pass it on. Thank you. So why am I active? What is my motivation? After 4 years at an in-house designer, I am really interested in how crafts are embedded in society, and this is also a very personal topic for me, to really have this direct relation for myself as a maker and also as a consumer. So that is a relation that, as a designer, you do not often get in touch with. And we are living through disruptive times. We really have to rethink our processes and how we can live our crafts in the future. And it might feel like an attack if you think about the end of the coal-fired era. Then, of course, I, as a metalsmith, am wondering at how will we do our business. But it can also be approached from another perspective. There are many opportunities for new repositionings, to really question old processes. The way it was done, we don't have to continue that way. And now is really a time where we can re-evaluate processes, products, old perspectives, and really also start new collaborations and really have a look at what is possible. So these are my motivations. It's very fulfilling to create something. So about my personal motivation, going to work every day and getting the money, of course, but I've decided to work in the craft sector. So many great things were said already, but what is my motivation has not been part of the discussion yet. There are two things. To put it literally, the tradition. There is just one crafts tradition, and that's innovation, because it's always a rethinking, a re-establishing, a change of perspective, a change of audiences that we sell to. So how can we come from what is wanted, from what we can make to what is wanted? And my second motivator is people. If I am in a bad mood, then of course I take my telephone and just talk to one of the craftsmen or women that wanted to speak to me anyway. So there's so much inspiration, so much new talk that really lifts my spirits. Be it new technology, be it a fund that we speak about, so something great is going to turn out of that if people think how to take on new perspectives, and that's something that I face every day and that really motivates me every day. Thank you very much for this first round. So we have really heard a lot about different points that I'd also like to go into deeper detail. Made In is a project that has already been going through a first cycle from 2018 to 2021 on a smaller scale, and that was really based on this perspective that at the intersection of design and crafts, and especially in design, there is so much attention and awareness for crafts techniques. And with the background of this dealings with mass production, there are many questions on how craftspeople will be able to produce in the future. So if it's not about mass, then how can we maybe focus on sustainability and other concepts? And from that, if we go to design fairs or to trainings, then this topic is kind of boiling over already. And the question that arises is, of course, how can we use this attention to bring this energy into the future? And Ms. von Schnipper already said, I think we talked about that before the conference, there have been those waves of enthusiasm for crafts. So they have already started in the late 19th century, and that really was like an answer to the Industrial Revolution, but they never stopped in the 20th century when we thought about alternatives. How can we now make it a more stable process so that there is not high and low tide, but how might we actually access a next level in those waves? So that's something I'd be interested in. So let me start. I think it's really hard and maybe not even necessary because, it's also necessary to have a pause, to really reflect on what has happened. So smaller waves are not necessarily bad. It is important, however, to really focus on the future and to focus on the big questions, the big targets that we have for the future, that we have as a society as well as on a personal level. And I think crafts can really give a good answer because they are not standardized. So that will be something of an opportunity for the future, that this freedom of expression leads to a freer expression. And I think that is really great about our exchange in Dresden. It is always a discourse. It's not one person telling the other how to do things, but it's always questions. How do you do that? How can we access the next level? And I think that approach might have to be institutionalized, even though that might sound strange. So that might be something to put into the brains of people, because then in those times of reflection, we can think of new processes. Thank you. So I think it's not time to stop and rest. Now is exactly the time where we should become active. And for me, this really is a large opportunity and a large joy to be able to be part of this transformation. So to really change the things that have always been done as they have been done, to change those pillars of society. And for me, this process where I have perspectives from both sides, design and crafts. And yeah, design sectors are often, or craft sectors are often very hardened and yeah, kind of not flexible in their self-presentation. So the inspirational spark is missing, the entrepreneurial approach is missing, this testing of something unseen that is not there to really break through the limitations that we have, especially in these times. So yeah, let's leave it at that.
Ist ja auch so.
Well, something that comes to mind, a critical thought, is whether this cooperation between designers and crafts people, whether innovation is more brought about by the designers or not, and whether that is down to their attitude or a wrong way of perceiving themselves. So meeting at same eye level is so important here, and maybe some of them are even prejudiced or biased, and craftspeople think, well, why do these designers dare to think that they can show me how to do my work? So we have to take care that this is a mutual process where both sides have an influence. And on the other hand, the pressure of changing and of being innovative is really felt in crafts. And then they need to be curious about trying out new things and discovering new things. So how can all of these things be taken into consideration? In my opinion, cooperation is always key. And what that means is exactly what you just said, meeting at eye level, and that is no walk in the park. With the Chamber of Crafts, we've developed different formats during COVID-19. And what really was important was to create a space that is unbiased, that is still free of prejudices, so that there's no hierarchical thinking or contractor and client or client company relationship, but that there is rather a mutual process of defining questions and challenges, making sure that the design perspective is not only focused on really telling somebody to do something, but rather to keep an open mind when talking about different questions and challenges. And if I may add, sure, feel free. I would like to tell you a little bit more about why I brought this little chair with me. This is an original piece from the 1930s or the beginning of the 1940s. A little stool, an industrially produced stool that still combines industrial production and crafts. Produced by a company located in Chemnitz by Robert Wagner. And if you've seen pictures of Bauhaus Dessau, you will recognize this stool because it was part of the original furniture of the different workshops and industrialized companies all over Germany. It is a very light object made of steel, but thanks to its specific production method, it is very light, and I carried it through the Chemnitz forest actually because it was so light. The company then had to shift its production to producing war equipment, as many other companies had to at the time. But this stool was actually found on a flea market, and those who found it really worried that these things only exist on flea markets. So this pair of designers that found the stool decided that they would kick off production of such original pieces. And they've been looking for different factories that can actually pulverize the metal. And there is another industrial manufacturer, soap manufacturer in Seifen. And they have also specialized in this production technique. Of course, it is no new innovation, but rather a re-innovation of an older product. And in my opinion, a great example of how design can relate to local production in order to rewrite or keep on writing history and to really open up in a historic chapter that we've believed was closed. Well, I would like to take this discussion into an entirely new direction. The question is, who are we addressing when looking to the future, when we think that society is now a society based on globalization? For example, when it comes to producing furniture or other objects and products, we hardly know anything about it because we've outsourced the entire process. Most of our days are spent by, working or amusing ourselves, entertaining ourselves with digital media, being part of social media and social networks. We even shop online. So what I am getting at is what crafts do and how they contribute is that they add this human dimension to our everyday lives, because now only craftspeople really get their hands dirty and have a hands-on experience. And that is something we all need. These people are these craftspeople have haptic experiences, but that is true for everyone. We all need such hands-on practical experiences, and that is where crafts come into play. Basically speaking, what we need is to communicate these specific and critical values and communicate them to people that have lost touch with them. So we need to think about new methods of engaging these people and thinking about reasons and causes that explain why this human dimension is so essential and why it should still be part of our society in the future. I kind of lost track, to be honest. Well, this is also something that we will certainly be talking about in the afternoon during the different roundtable meetings, so the importance of crafts in society. Well, society is now made of an audience, you might say, and consumers. And what arts and crafts need is, of course, they need consumers, but what they also require is an interaction with society that will make sure that crafts is kept alive. And if we're looking to the future, then we find that we need good networks, local networks in the different regions that really focus on their expertise, and that we refocus on how things are produced, and that we raise awareness also when it comes to our planet and the state of our planet. The spirit of craft could actually save our planet and our ecosystem, so we really should think about that. Mrs. Baumann, I already saw you nodding ahead in agreement.
Here, I think the human dimension is essential for our society and for the craft sector. And I think that after each big crisis, we rediscover crafts, and it has like a big impact on our society. And I think it's because of the link, again, to we humans just realize how humans we are, and our relation to crafts. And crafts brings us again into the earth and into the thinking about making. And I think that we saw that during the pandemic, everyone was active at home with crafts. So this connects us again to our world, and I think that makes us more human, and I think that's crucial. And it's good that there is this revival on craft, and I think that all of us who are working in the craft sector, we need to use that to promote it and to give a real vision of craft and what it is, what it really is, because there is craft is a trend now, and it's being used by many marketing campaigns and very big firms who are saying that what they do is craft, and that's nonsense, that's bullshit, that's not crafts. But they use the qualities inherent to the craft sector to promote their products, and they make us think that this is craft and it's not really craft. So I think that we need to be aware of that, and we need to defend what crafts is and why we are here. And yeah, I think the human dimension is crucial, and it brings us to the ground of what it is, and this connection to the earth, to the materials, to the handmade things, and I think this is very important. Yeah.
Darf ich ganz kurz darauf reagieren?
If I may add, the question is, where do we have these encounters with the craft sector? And it is no coincidence that especially over the past 10 years, there have been new spaces for exploring such encounters that go beyond classic crafts workshops or factories. Of course, this relates to the maker movement that is not only focused on 3D printing and the like, but also on other areas, you know, very low threshold access to different crafts without different educational prerequisites. And that is the reason why this topic has been embedded in the entire process of the European Capital of Culture, Chemnitz. We asked ourselves, where do we have spaces where people can really get active and do something, have a hands-on experience? So that was a very important issue for Chemnitz as an ECOC, as we establish different maker hubs to answer these questions that my previous speaker just addressed. Well, that is so interesting, because self-organization of crafts people and people in the design sector is so important, because they're interested in bringing this forward. Self-organization relates to the craft sector, of course, and the designers that are interested in being active in the area of crafts, and having a hands-on experience as a facilitator, as a participant in a workshop, in different exchanges. What really strikes me here is the difference between the craft sector and the different labs that are now flourishing everywhere. I see many similarities, but also many differences when it comes to the organizational structure underneath. I think traditional crafts, people can learn a lot from here, also when it comes to how flexible and agile they can be. Well, the craft sector is always more complex than what people may think. There is a lot of duality to it. And what my previous speakers already said, it all boils down to this human dimension. The craft sector is so difficult and complex when we talk about traditional crafts, of course, but there's a wide range of it, highly innovative and also traditional crafts on the other side. And never only approach craftsmen or women to buy something from them. Whether you go to a hairdresser, a roofer, a plumber, the question always is, what do you want? So in the first step, you need to deal with yourself, and in the second step, with different opportunities and options of what your actual goal is. And I think that is what we also sometimes tend to forget in the craft sector, because our society is more of a materialistic society. We always ask for an object. For example, we want a table, but we forget to ask ourselves what we actually need it for. Our society is a heterogeneous society, and this is ever changing, of course, but we have different products, not only industrialized products, that are focused on the material aspects. So it's already finalized in the material aspect when I buy it, and then I need to ask myself how to integrate it. But that is entirely different in the other way around. In traditional crafts, they've asked first what this table shall be used for. Is it something that is needed in a workshop, that is needed in the kitchen for the family to dine on? So that is the main question that is at the heart of crafts. Certainly, this is important for traditional crafts that is now focused due to tradition, safety, that is focused on traditional questions. For example, a metal worker knows they can work with metal and design metal, and making sure that they're able to interact with the customer and find out what their goals is so important also in their everyday business life. Our traditional crafts people have always done these things in the same manner for so many years and might find it hard to adapt. Having a look at the traditions, not Industry 4.0, but if we think back to the first craftspeople, potters, for example, the tradition of crafts is 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years old, and it will not be able to adapt within 10 years. We sometimes, call them the younger craftsmen or women and traditional craftspeople. And that is our tradition. Sometimes it is even helpful if older ones, retire and leave more room for young craftspeople. And if you decide to adapt to new technologies, for me that is difficult because I always want everything all at once. But sometimes we need to pause and think about the more sustainable approach. And it is not only a buzzword or a hype, but something that can be sustainable and that can have a long-lasting effect and be integrated over the long term. At the moment, society should reflect on whether things are normal and to really reflect on that things are moving ahead at such a fast speed. And maybe we should think twice of how things were in the past and realize that things were actually exactly as fast as they were today. And I would now like to hand over to Schnuppe.
So maybe we are still a materialistic society, but we are also a knowledge society. So if I have a look at the homes of younger people, then I do not see all the accessories that my generation hoarded. So this is all about processes. So we might focus on processes in the regions to really think about how textiles can be regenerative, how they can be made more sustainable and biodegradable instead of importing low-quality textiles. So this whole topic should really be more localized. And I think a great opportunity for crafts is this sustainability approach that we will also need in order to be able to inhabit our planet in the future. if we start with that and look back on the many offerings that crafts have made over the centuries, then of course we can develop these approaches further. And this combination of networks of museums, of research institutions and companies and craftspeople, so that is a great example. Grenzhausen, for example, in Westerwald, there is a large clay deposit, and clay work is quite important in the region. So today there is also high-tech research in this region. So they really support our modern life. But this whole process would not have been possible without the long-standing crafts in the region. And there are many similar examples. So if we really refer back to this very small-scale approach, to this local approach, and then build networks between different disciplines at eye level, then that will be a great inspiration for building a new world that will also be inhabitable in the future. So, and as we all heard, we are just starting with the process. Of course, we are not going to find a conclusion in this round, and that's not the goal of our panel, of course. But of course, we can focus more on these thoughts in the round tables. Thank you very much to you and to you all for this great first round of a panel introduction. For me, it was really motivating to hear about the good news that crafts is not going to die as long as there are human beings, because these two are so interconnected. But at the same time, we are destroying the planet at the moment. So this vision that was formulated here on the panel on how crafts can work as a tool to come to a better solution, and I think this is a great image to take from this first round onwards. So now I'd like to also introduce you to our first fast input after a short break. So many of those examples are going to be more of a focus later on. So a big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you. So just before the short break, 2 small organizational notes. I will do the first one in English because it's only for the first, for the live streamers.
And a description of the video you are watching. Thank you. And die andere.
And the second note, we are a EU-funded project and we have some prerequisites to fulfill. So there is supposed to be a participants list. So it would be great if you could sign it, please. I'm going to do that just after the pause to really hand it through the rows, and then it would be great if that list would come back to me. So let's rejoin for the first fast input at 10:40. Thank you. So let's start on time, 10:40.
Hi. Yeah, so we will now continue with the Fast Input 1, where all the partners of the Made in platform will represent their projects and activities. So I would firstly like to welcome on stage Maja Vardian, representing the Museum of Architecture and Design from Ljubljana, Slovenia.
Hello. Should we wait a sec and then we start? Okay, we can start with the presentation. Museum of Architecture and Design MAO is one of the oldest museums of architecture in Europe. It was established in 1972 as Architecture Museum of Ljubljana, and in 2010 it became a national institution. It is located in the Renaissance Castle on the edge of the city, as you see on the image. Our basic activity is focused on heritage that we retain in our collections, but in addition to collecting, storing, researching, and presenting material from the past, we equally question our present and future. This is our current exhibition about architect Jože Plečnik. MAO therefore acts as a meeting point, as a place of engagement, confrontation, and dialogue. It is also appointed manager for UNESCO inscribed works of Jože Plečnik, and we run Center for Creativity, national platform for the development of cultural and creative sector. Through our actions, we question meanings and formats of exhibitions and events. MAO, for example, organizes one of the world's oldest design biennials, BIO, and over the last decade we transformed this biennial from conventional comparative industrial design exhibition into a diverse process of collaboration. So BIO now works as an experimental design platform that questions the world we live in and develop alternatives to established systems of everyday life. These are participants of the transformative biennial BIO 53-1 test in 2014. The biennial structure and its system of collaboration that is based on interdisciplinary teams of designers and other experts informed the development of many projects in museum, also made in platforms. So I will highlight some of the biennial's crucial features. First one is that BIO is conceived as a testing ground, where design is understood as a form of cultural practice and where design transcends its own boundaries and tackles new and unprecedented social, environmental, and political topics. This is a parade that we organized during the BIO Faraway So Close. Another key issue is that the process is based on local and international collaborations. Such projects can navigate the universal and global matters versus local diversity and specifics. So locality is always understood as a starting point for addressing urgent issues of contemporary world. Also, the break from the narrow and strictly disciplinary concept of design enables interdisciplinary exchange, which doesn't lead only to the production of new common knowledge, but also brings together different worlds in terms of audiences. We build a working stove in the forest for people to come together. So the aim of these processes is to create the basis for resilient structures that can develop through time beyond the official duration of the event. And all this informed the collaborative process of our first edition of Made in Platform. Here you see the designers Misha Traxler and Stormason Beno Ogrin and their ratio project, where objects works as three-dimensional illustration of proportion of metal and specific metal ore that forms the basis of this object. The important partner was also the Geological Survey of Slovenia, so it was collaboration with scientists as well. So the project we developed during the first edition of Made in MAO revealed the interest of designers in traditional forms of making because of sustainable and elaborate cycles that craftspeople built around particular materials. Lucas Wegwart, that conceived this workshop with ceramic artisan Orban Magushar, emphasized the craft's relation to locally sourced natural materials and other resources. This principle is now more important than ever, and we would like to continue exploring it also in the second edition of Made in Platform. So we will co-organize with Center Rock 3 residencies that involve local and international designers, craftspeople and other experts, and also 3 public workshops and seminars. Our goal is to explore the expressive qualities, methodology, and potentials of craft process and its role in addressing environmental issues. So as coordinator, MAWA will also play a facilitating role between partners and will be actively involved in creating the final exhibition and publication. As well, we will be organizing the final conference in Ljubljana in 2025. And I hope to see you there as well.
Thank you very much, Maja. Now we have another Maja coming up, representing Oaza from Croatia.
Hi everyone. Before we start, I want to extend my thank you for having us and also say hello to everyone joining us online. And let me see if I figure out how this works. Okay. Hi, I'm here on behalf of Oaza. Oaza is a research-based design practice from Zagreb, Croatia, founded by 6 partners in 2013. Our work is a context and research-based, primarily rooted in collaboration and knowledge exchange. We design, research, curate, direct, and edit content for visual identities, books, campaigns, exhibitions, and digital media, mainly within the cultural field. We are also active in the fields of formal and informal design education. Next to commissions and collaborations, Oaza investigates topics of interest through self-initiated total design projects, which reflect the general approach to design as a political and social discipline. The 2 most prominent ongoing long-term projects being Made In and Oaza Books. Oaza Books is an independent publishing initiative we started on contemporary art and design, conceived with the idea of producing, promoting, and distributing publications that approach the work process and content critically and transdisciplinary. Since 2017, we have published and co-published altogether 30 books, both in Croatian and English. But so far, the longest project we have been conducting continuously for over 10 years now is Made In, which throughout time went through various iterations. It was first conceived in 2023 during Bio50 as Ilica project dealing with the growing number of disappearing craftspeople in Zagreb city center. The project was exploring possibilities of knowledge exchange between craftspeople, designers, and locals, resulting in a model for self-sustainable development of the local community by means of social design. The book we published then, in 2017, gathered all those actions and our products, mapping out craftspeople all in one place. The book was also the one that started our long-term publishing project, Oaza Books. So the initiative to form Made In Platform on a larger European scale for Oaza meant an organic continuation of our activities and testing of the already somewhat established methodology. The intention of the projects was to join forces of various cultural actors around topics of heritage and contemporary design production. This partnership consortium included 6 organizations from 4 different European countries. Our project methodology can be simplified down to this diagram process, which explains in detail activities ranging from mapping and research to collaborations and knowledge sharing, towards final results such as a website, book, and an exhibition. Within the project, we have realized 10 crafts archives entries in the research phase, 2 collaborations and workshop, one with designer Andrea De Chirico from Superlocal, dealing in collaboration with design students and craftspeople from Zagreb City Center, and the other one with Studio Unfold and Alexander Imbea, who chose to work with the last comb maker in Zagreb and question the matter of preservation knowledge in the age of artificial intelligence. Both really beautiful projects. Besides that, we are also we're in charge of designing the visual appearance of the project, including the exhibition and the book. In this cycle, we continue our role as one of the key partner organizations involved in the strategic decisions and, again, the visual appearance of the project. The overall topic of Croatian activities this time around will be related to the Adriatic seascape, which will deal with the relationship within the design and exploitation of local raw materials and natural resources of the maritime Adriatic culture, be it seabed, stone, water, wind, or any other resource related to the coast and coastline, as well as the undersea. We will raise questions about pressing problems such as overexploitation of natural resources, mass tourism, sale of land, privatization of coast, changed maritime biotopes, invasive species, and so on. On the level of Croatia, we will contribute to the Atlas of Knowledge by mapping resources related to the sea. With Drugo More, another organization that we are partnering with, we will be involved in the coordination and organization of the Seascape Seminar in Rijeka, scheduled for September this year, which will be a kickstart of the residency program there. Further on, we will be art directing the production of the new madeinplatform.com, and together with Drugo More, organizing local exhibitions on the topics of seascape in Rijeka in Croatia in the spring of 2025. As well as a bigger exhibition together with Museum of Architecture and Design in 2025. We're looking forward to showing you the results. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Maja, and I'm the third Maja in a row, and I will be representing Zinterrog. Yeah, so hi everyone, I am the project manager at Zinterrog, which is one of the new members of the Made in platform. And Zinterrog is operating in the former Rog factory, which used to produce the famous Rog bicycle, and now serves as a public production space for the cultural and creative industries with special emphasis on design and architecture. The development process of Zinterrog was highly participatory. When the municipality of Ljubljana decided to revitalize the Rog factory in 2007, more than 300 stakeholders were involved in the initial planning for the new space for the CCS. In 2012, Rog Lab was established as a prototype for the future Zinterrog, and this new vision was then tested and redefined by more than 6,000 users and partners. And based on this fieldwork that was carried out, the project was continuously upgraded. Over the years, Zinterrog built the know-how, the relevant community, and an extensive network of partners. Equipped with the local knowledge, state-of-the-art new equipment, and highly trained professional mentors, Zinterrog will help guide, monitor, and develop projects from applied partners, while also trying to actively participate in the co-designing process. The new Zinterrog covers a total of 8,500 square meters, and it will spread across 4 floors of shared manufacturing infrastructure with 7 different labs covering textile, cookery, 3D electronics, woodworking, metalworking, green lab, glass ceramics, and jewelry. The new Zinterrog will also include a brand new public library, 6 different shops on the ground level, a restaurant, a cafe. We will have a new exhibition and event space, with the lecture room attached, and also 20 individual workspaces for the creatives and 5 residential apartments for our residency program. With its modern infrastructure, expertise, and international connections, the Zinterrog will try to provide creators, organizations, businesses, and of course the general public with a supportive environment for the development of innovative, socially beneficial projects that meet the challenges of the 21st century. Zinterrog is committed to sustainable development goals, which include reducing inequalities and, of course, fostering gender equality. We will try to offer an accessible educational program that supports responsible consumption and production. And, of course, our shared manufacturing facilities are going to be open for all, professional, amateur, students, and children alike. Our programs focus on digital fabrication technologies, applied arts, handicraft, design and architecture, cultural heritage, education, science and research activity, engineering, social entrepreneurship, and cooperatives, to name just a few. We offer a variety of different programs in close cooperation with our program partners that we yearly select through an open call. And in our shared manufacturing infrastructure, we organize different summer schools, various creative workshops for both adults and children, while also trying to teach them how to independently use the available equipment. We also organize courses and training in new manufacturing technologies, and we have also been a part of different EU projects like She Makes, Shared Spaces, Shared Futures, Act and Art, and so on. We also publish a Rogue Lab Open yearly. This is an open call where we try to create prototypes that solve different social issues. We are very excited to join the Made in project. Most of our activities are interlinked with the Museum of Architecture and Design, who's also the lead beneficiary in the project. And together with MAO, we will organize a stakeholders event in June, 3 residencies and 3 workshops that are connected to the same topic, and of course 3 seminars and a training course. The topics of our residencies will cover rich natural resources of Slovenia's wetland areas with an emphasis on invasive plant species and their potential use, building the cultural identity of the region through research of its flora and fauna, and the third one is biocomputation and biofabrication techniques with the aim of developing innovative, sustainable products based on mycelium. So we will have Slovene designers and craftspeople working together with a guest resident designer. They will try to develop new prototypes and prepare a workshop that will be open to the public. And we will also be the host of the final exhibition and the wrap-up conference in the exhibition hall. So yeah, as mentioned, we are very excited to join the project and cannot wait for the outcomes that it will bring. Thank you. Yeah, and next one, Ivan Manojlović from Nova Iskra Creative Hub from Belgrade.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ivan, and I'm here together with my colleague Maria. We're representing Nova Iskra Creative Hub from Belgrade. Nova Iskra is a creative hub that was founded in 2012, so we marked 10 years last year. And in the initial phase, when we started the Creative Hub, basically very few people know what Creative Hub is and what we do. I think that my parents still doesn't know where I work and what I do. So just in that time, it was important for us to be an organization that was as a grassroots organization founded by a couple of, let's say, designers, but also creative producers with the idea to share knowledge and ideas, basically the knowledge that was not taught at the universities and faculties that time. It was also an idea that believe actually that design and also culture and creative sector can also have a spillover effect to other sectors and to other problems that our societies are facing. So we moved from, let's say, design from narrow field to design as a methodology of solving issues that are facing our societies. So we use the human-centered approaches as a design thinking to many of the problems that we have. Why we are doing this? Well, we actually know, we can all feel and touch and smell the reasons why, especially if you come to Belgrade, you can meet the polluted air, the polluted water, you can meet overmining and many other problems that we faced. So we strongly believe that these kind of problems are very complex and not easy. They involve many, usually like social changes and sometimes even behavioral changes. Usually these solutions are not one but many, and sometimes they have unforeseen effects. In this term that we also involved, like as most of, let's say, channels that we do is that we create a community, that we create collaboration, and that we share. So that's something that we embedded in Nova Iskra's 3 pillars that we do. We created a physical space for people to community together. So we have 3 locations in Belgrade where we host 350 people every day, mostly from creative and cultural sector. We have an innovation lab that is usually developing and designing programs and like mentoring programs, mentoring projects, but also other various capacity building programs. And we also do cooperation, international collaborations, since we believe that we cannot solve these problems together. We need basically all of you. That's why we actually collaborated and contributed to the first Made in project. In this first round, we actually mapped 10 craftsmen, which is located in Belgrade, which are either near to extinction, they don't have a successor, or we, on the other hand, mapped. I'm sorry, this is going too fast. So, or they are other like younger designers and craftsmen that are willing to deal and step into the scene. We also hosted a residency, art residency of Jenny Norberg in Belgrade, and she worked with one of the last standing perfume makers in Belgrade. So the question is, what is next in the next round? We're going to do basically again a very important residency program, but we're also going to focus more on mapping. And I have here Maria to tell you a bit more about mapping. So fast.
Okay. So in true spirit of creativity, we are sharing this. So we're going to see how it works. So we kind of finalized the first phase, or the first research phase of the mapping. And then we decided to have 5 parameters for selection of craftspeople. So first, it's important to look at crafts that both produce the material and the product at the same time. We wanted to have the transferring of like gender roles, so craftswomen are giving a priority. We wanted to focus on recycled materials and to see which crafts are disappearing as local knowledge of knowing the land and the resources that might be revitalized through this project. So we have to deliver 5 individuals and 5 documented processes, and we said the main selection criteria will be the level of achieved circular production, so local resource, local knowledge, and then local placement. Rarity and the endangeredness of the craft, so that there are a small number of practitioners that are doing it, that we have a fully documented practice in a museum that we might be able to somehow revive, and really to think about social impact and think about potentially emancipatory practices. And it's really important how we can kind of apply it in contemporary production and use the new policy changes in Serbia, mainly dealing with social entrepreneurship. So how can we build social companies? And for that, we, for now, have some examples. So reed matting, and we found a lady, this was kind of primarily a male-dominated field before. Now women are sort of taking over as a second type of income for the households. And this is kind of rooted deeply in emancipation, as is tapestry and dealing and making the materials and making the even art products. And finally, dealing and trying to see how we can use a natural resource, a really specific type of a stone in a specific part of the country that's no longer digged and used for making stone roof tiles, but there are serious potentials in, if nothing else, recycling the material, which is still going on. And we are trying to find right now who can provide this for us. And for the final,
I think we're over the time, so we can have time to discuss in the breaks and afterwards, so we can tell you a bit more about the residency program. So thank you a lot, and looking forward to seeing you in Belgrade.
Thank you very much for the both of you. Next one, I would like to invite Leila Agic to the stage, representing Zenica City Museum from Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and nice to meet you here. We are new in the Made in platform. I'm representing Zenica City Museum, and I'm museum pedagogue in Zenica City Museum. We are coming from central Bosnia, from the middle of the Bosnia, a heart-shaped land, how it's often called. We are general, small city general type museum, which means that we have a different kind of collections and different kind of permanent exhibitions. We have archaeology, ethnology, history, art collection, but not permanent exhibition, 20 media century exhibition and collection, and we also have a corner for the children. Education and in our museum is highly important. We are settled in 2 buildings. This is the main building, and 14 kilometers from this building is medieval fortress Vranduk from a royal city Vranduk, and there is also archaeological, ethnological exhibitions display, permanent. You can see we are established in 1967, and this one exhibit is from our permanent archaeological exhibition and collection, and this is a national monument of Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's a tombstone and written in old Bosnian letters called Bosančica that we don't use anymore, and it's almost 100 years old. This is from center of Zenica. I'm so sad that this doesn't look anymore like this, and we hope to this project Made in Platform that we'll actually try to revive some old crafts that are extinguished and that are dying even in this time. This is from our permanent ethnological collection, and as I mentioned, old town, medieval town Vranduk, there was a specific carpet called Vranduk's carpet, and fortunately there isn't anyone know how to do that carpet in Vranduk. So we will, through Made in Platform, also try to revive weaving, because weaving was important in Zenica and surrounding villages during 200 years ago and a period before that. This is from our 20th century media, permanent collection and exhibition. So this is Children Corner, and as I said, we love to work with children. We are organizing and always producing these educational and creative workshops about different themes. And this is about medieval scriptorium and notary, and we are learning a lot about Bosančica, because it's really important for us. And this is Vranduk. It's the smallest but the really beautiful medieval fortress, and in the middle of Bosnia, lifted on the slope rock. So our main activities, as you can see, are researching, collecting, processing, and presentation, education, and exchange of useful knowledge. Also, we are really digging in accessibility and inclusion, and we are trying that our project is inclusive also and accessible. We are working a lot with the blind and visually impaired people, and producing a lot of hands-on material and tactile images. So, as a point to this, we got innovative certificate for zero project, or like a zero boundaries. So we are trying to remove the boundaries in our museum, and it's really important for us. Through project Made in Platform, we are happy to be here. And through this project, we will try to map, first of all these really important crafts that are dying and craftsmen people. Also, we will try to make to map the experts in that field. We will have residencies and stakeholder event also, and we will have exhibition. But our exhibition is aimed to be rechange and changing in our permanent exhibitions. So after the project is finished, Made in Platform is finished, we will have in our permanent ethnological exhibitions product that will last for years, because permanent exhibitions do last for years in our museum. So we are really happy to see the outcome of this residencies program, and finally in exhibition display to after project and on living self project. So that's all for me. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Leila. Now I would like to invite to the stage Astrid Susano. She's representing Palais ao Futuro from Portugal.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. So I'm Astrid Susano from Palais ao Futuro, one of the co-founders. We are a non-profit cultural association based on research that is documenting, activating, and supporting cultural heritage of Portuguese craftspeople. and we facilitate collaboration, innovation between craftspeople and designers in the production of utilitarian designs on the global and local scales. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Our mission is to preserve, promote, innovate, activate, and celebrate the Portuguese artisan sector through a series of initiatives utilizing design thinking. In 2016, Fatima Durkee, the other co-founder, and myself started documenting the craftspeople through photos, videos, and interviews, and we work with 11 different crafts that have utilitarian applications. Ceramics, traditional construction, cork, natural fibers, flora and fauna, wood, metal, stone, leather, textiles, and glass. This is an example of a map we have made on registered artisans working with wood. Mapping is constantly under development, and we are doing it for the 11 crafts we work on. While meeting the artisans, we realized that there is a huge divide between them and the market, due mostly to obsolete products and competition from mass production. So Passo Futuro is looking at the two main markets: the luxury market, associated with excellence and craftsmanship, the conscious markets associated with sustainability and ethics. And the overlap of these two is an opportunity for Portuguese craftspeople. But in order to link them to the right market, we need to find solutions for the underlying social problems. It's an aging population, there's poverty, there's lack of an interest from the younger generation to continue it, and also valorization. So for that, Passo Futuro works on systemic solutions that utilizes these 6 points: research and development, activation, training and education, social innovation, awareness building, and sustainability. So this toolkit can be customized to each community and can be replicated in other countries. We are a team of international interdisciplinary team, with vital collaborators and partnerships. So I will now show you a project that we made and includes most of what Passo Futuro is about. In 2017, we started a big research on traditional basketry techniques. It took us around 3 years, and the result can be seen on an exhibition we curated, where we started by, we showed the baskets from both collections of the Popular Art Museum and the National Ethnographic Museum, both in Lisbon. And the show is about the different techniques, about the raw materials and the tools that are used in basket making, the people behind this craft that are still doing it. So we also mapped for this exhibition. And it's also about the future of basketry and all the sustainable aspect of it. So, which is explained with diagrams from cradle to cradle, biomimicry, circular economy, and also regenerative design. Here, one can also see the results of the basketry summer school we organized, where we selected 5 different craftspeople to work that works in 5 different techniques, and we paired them with 10 students. We did an open call. We selected 5 Portuguese, 5 foreigner students. We paired them in duos, 1 Portuguese with one foreigner. And then together they worked with the craftspeople. And under the theme of co-working and co-living, they created these pieces. We also organized 2 residencies for this exhibition. One, on the right side, we can see the piece by Christian Haas, a German designer based in Portugal, that did this lamp with Isabel Martins. And on the left side, we have a chair that was designed by Miguel Sueiro and produced by Fernando Neles. They are both under production and are made by order. So in the context of the Made in Platform project, it's going to be the first time we were not part of the first phase, and we're very happy to be here now. And we will be doing this year, we will be mapping, 10 craftspeople and experts. We will then organize 5 residencies. The first one will be in October this year, and will be with Junco, which is made on a loom. In February 2024, we will have our second residency to work with cane in the south of Portugal. In April 2024, we will have 2 residencies, one with palm and one with sparto, also in the south of Portugal. And the last one will be in June of 2024 to work with wicker in the center-north of Portugal. We will also organize 1 summer school in August 2024. And in November, we will present all the pieces of the 5 residencies and the summer school in an exhibition in Porto. Thank you.
Thank you, Astrid. Next one on stage is Koral Kavlajo from the Museum of Arts and Crafts from Zagreb, Croatia.
Thank you. Let me just check first how it works. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Koral Kavlajo. I'm a curator of design collections at Museum of Arts and Crafts in Zagreb, Croatia. And I will present shortly our museum here, reasons for participating in this project from the very beginning, and our role and duties in this new part of Made in platform. So this is our museum building in the center of Zagreb. The museum was founded in 1880. It's just like many European museums of the same type concerning arts and crafts. Today we hold 16 collections with more than 100,000 objects from various fields of fine arts, fine crafts, and really fine design. I'm biased. The reason we joined the original Made in project in 2018, and again its new edition, is because basically we feel that we share some key interests. Primarily it's a focus on crafts and design, preservation and presentation. It's the interest in new approaches to craft and design, and of course we recognize the great opportunity to connect and collaborate with other cultural and European organizations and institutions with similar interests. The crafts in our collection certainly hold a special position. After all, the museum was founded particularly to show off the good crafts and parallel to the neighboring craft school, and to serve as example of fine craftsmanship and preserve the traditional crafts skills. Most of the collections focused on various applied arts objects, from ceramics to clocks, metalwork, furniture, glass, and so on. On the other hand, the museum design collection is relatively new. It was established in 1962, and still it's one of the first of its kind in the region. And today the collections of graphic and product design hold almost 20,000 design objects, mostly from Croatia and ex-Yugoslavia. And we are the key museum for design promotion and preservation in Croatia. This photo here shows actually the renewed permanent display of design collections, which was opened in February 2020. It was a really great success, but a month later we had a really bad earthquake in Zagreb. And actually it happened only 2 days after this pandemic closed down, and then the snowstorm started, and we felt for a while it was the end of the world, but it wasn't actually. Anyway, the building is at the moment closed for renovations, and some collections were damaged more than the others, and we were forced to evacuate the building. But every crisis does hold some new ways out and new opportunities, and this one gave us an opportunity to rethink our purpose and the way we communicate our collections to the public. So, in a way, I think that the Made in project, the first edition of it, did really happen at the right moment, because it did give us a new insight in thinking of our collections and how to communicate this intangible heritage, how to present and preserve crafts. And basically, it raised a really important question: how to is it enough to simply preserve the object while losing the process and the person behind it? So the premiere of the exhibition of the Made in project, the first part, was held at the museum. It opened in February on occasion of museum's 140th birthday, at the same time as the new design display, and it really underlined the need to approach the crafts and design from the new angle. So, we were very happy to join the new edition of Made in platform as well, as one of the partners. We are one of the 3 partner organizations from Croatia, and we do share many of the duties. Our main roles are in mapping, networking, and dissemination of and production support. In the area of networking, our duties lay in detecting the local stakeholders and evolving them to the best of our abilities in the platform. Those stakeholders involve educational, craft design organizations, professionals in the field, local experts in traditional craft making, knowledge holders, and so on. The role of mapping activity in this part of the process is to create the database of crafts and craftspeople, interdisciplinary expertise and natural resources which are related to the subject. Each country picked, as you saw before, picked their own area of interest, and Croatian overall theme is sea and maritime culture, the natural materials, techniques, traditions, history, and so on. And later, at a later stage, we hope that this research will be able to help the future projects which are going to come out of this project. I will illustrate the mapping process with some examples collected in the previous edition of Made in Project. Basically, we are taking the deep look into the local crafts and trying to preserve the knowledge through careful collection of data about the materials, about production space, about the process, and of course the person behind it. And this time, the whole process is also expanded to mapping natural materials and traditions and culture themselves. The result of mapping are then collected in a common database, and for that they need to be sorted and presented in easily understandable and comparable format, giving as much information as possible for practical use during the project residencies, but also they should serve as a way of preserving the knowledge for future use. Finally, the data will be disseminated through the web page and book and, of course, the exhibition, and they will present the collected information of all the researched crafts and resources and traditions, but also new ways of interacting with those through design. So Museum of Arts and Crafts is part of the team which offers support in production and web page and the book. And basically, this concludes my presentation. I can also say that speaking as a Made-in veteran, since we were here from the beginning of the project, that I'm really looking forward to all the unexpected and amazing new direction this project will surely take us again. And I would also urge everybody who is interested in crafts, in designing, in ecology, and simply new ways of thinking about those subjects to participate, or at least to follow the platform. I'm sure it's going to inspire everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Koralka. Now I would like to invite Jakob Strobel to the stage. He will be representing University of Applied Science, Zwickau from Germany.
Thank you, and hello everyone. First of all, a little trigger warning. I will simplify story and history of the Ori Mountains. So there are a lot of specialists here, so don't be afraid. It's the University of Applied Sciences, and it's deeply rooted in automotive design. And we are in the Ori Mountains, or at the edge of the Ori Mountains, and there was tin and copper and iron ore found, but in the 15th century, silver, and that caused a huge wealth. And you can see it if you stroll around Dresden, for instance. And that ended on a point in the 17th century, and people had to look for other things to do to make a living. And they came up with crafts, and for instance, textiles plays a huge role, but also wood crafts, as you know, from like toy making and all the beautiful things for Christmas that are made in the Ori Mountains. But mining had kind of a revival in the 18th century and became relevant worldwide with uranium, but also with cobalt. And another thing became from worldwide importance, which was invented in the Ori Mountain. It's the concept of sustainability. Hans Carl von Carlowitz invented it, coming from forestry. What are we doing in Schneeberg? We are combining like the crafts history, the technology, and of course sustainability aspects, and working in the so-called workshop principles with students in the field of textiles, design, and wood. We came in contact to the Made-in platform as we had the chance to host the final exhibition in Schneeberg 2 years ago, which was amazing, as students had the chance to put their own work besides the works of international known artists and designers and craftsmen, craftswomen, and we came up with the idea of a workshop concept we are contributing in this platform. The idea, nose to tail, obviously comes from the food preparing, but our idea is that we use everything of the wood, of the tree. Precious wood is the title of what we are doing. So at the moment we are having a research project in using sawdust to create a 3D printable material. Here are some of the topics we are going to host for the like younger people, maybe those who are struggling, either they should study or should go and do crafts. And there are, like this were 5 topics. They are kind of settled, but we are thinking of other topics, and we really want to invite you all to give us input, to think with us what else of topics could be possible related to the area. We have 5 principles or 5 topics we want to spread in the workshops. We want to use design methods, but also like long phases of hands-on experiences, and also immersive experiences for people who can't travel to Schneeberg to attend the workshops. Here are matchmarking topics for the workshops and methods. Speculative design in the tree-to-board workshop. Imagine a time where we are not going to use big machines to go in the forest to pull out the trees. There we might think of new ways. This was just Uwe, who is involved in the project as the project manager, who is able to do this with the horses. Field trips, I find personally extremely inspiring, and that's why we want to take all the people to the amazing places where, like, this huge historical dimensions were kind of breathable. We know something about wood, but we don't know everything about all the other materials. That's why we're going to invite and ask people to come in. For instance, somebody who's expert in like iron making, like we met today at the panel. And the workshop principles at our faculty are based on hands-on experiences, and this is what we want to deliver in the workshops as well. So the sheep to carpet workshop should really mean that you're actually in contact with the source, with the animal, and at the end of the week, you should be able to take something home that's really a material or product. We also want to deliver like intense experience for people who can't come to Schneeberg, and that's why we're planning to have 3D video material that you can experience with a head-mounted display, or like nice videos at least, that you get an impact or an idea of what's happening in Schneeberg. That's it. Thank you very much. Happy to see you.
Thank you, Jakob. We have reached our final presenter today in the fast input session, so I would like to invite Thomas Geisler on stage, representing Kunstgewerbemuseum.
Yeah, thank you, Maya. Thank you, everyone. I think it's just amazing to see the variety of institutions and partners in this program. And for me, it's also a question, how can we as a museum contribute to this network of Made In? I think we already did a great deal to bring this network to Dresden and to Saxony to exchange with the local partners. The Museum of Applied Arts, or Decorative Arts, has been established in 1876 and went through many transformations. The recent transformation is when I came to the museum in 2019 to rethink the museum as a design campus consisting of 4 pillars, which is the museum, a newly invented summer school, labs, and also the network that is created throughout these activities. Of course, what we are facing are all the challenges of the 21st century, and we as a museum also want to reactivate our collections to contribute to these urgent questions. For those who haven't been at Pillnitz, here you can see an overview where the Museum of Decorative Arts is located. It's in the 2 wings, the hillside and riverside Palais, and of course the museum is the backbone of all our activities, including the exhibition program, the educational programs, and of course the broader network of the SKD, the State Art Collection, and the collections that we can act on. This just gives like the span of the variety of our collection, from decorative arts up to contemporary design. Of course, the museum has been founded as a as a study collection for an art and design and craft school in the 19th century, and so is our collection reflected. This just gives an insight of one of the exhibitions on the Deutsche Werkstätte, which is a stronghold of our collection to cover their 125 years of history. A recent exhibition that we have explored in the field of craft, I think Kerstin and Ute mentioned it this morning, and where you can see the videos from was The Myth of Craft, together with the Museum of Applied Arts in Frankfurt and the Vorarlberg Museum in Vorarlberg in Bregenz, to explore like myth and these juxtapositions of the craft between the luxury, the needed, the individual and the mass production. The school is a newly introduced program which takes place during 6 weeks in summertime. We're just open during summertime, the museum, so we try to bring in a curious crowd of young designers, creatives to the museum to work with our collections on a variety of topics. And of course, the main act is to network, to exchange knowledge with our curators and scientists, but also with a more and a broader interdisciplinary team. The workshops generated can derive from very media, art, digital projects to really hands-on projects, as we can see here, to make your hands dirty, build your own skill together with Heinrich Ehnert. That was a project we did last year. Those are programs of the past 3 years. Design and Democracy, the School of the Untold, which was about materials and resources. And this year we will focus on phytocentered design, which is basically a creative critique on the Anthropocene to switch your perspective on nature. The lab programs are short-term or long-term programs that we all do with all kinds of stakeholders and partners to bring to Pillnitz and to interact with. In this case, it was a program on alternative tourism that we did with the Dresden Board of Tourism. We are also a new partner at the platform of Made In, even so me, as a former manager of the workaround Bregenzer Wald already participated in the first round. So we contribute, like the others, mapping 10 crafts people in the region, as well as of course, we did this inaugurational conference, and we do host 2 residencies for the next 2 years. One of them, the first one this year, will be with Cécile Falchenfeld, who is in knitting wear and is centered in Paris, and she's very well connected to the old haute couture fashion business, and we bring her here to collaborate with local partners in the textile crafts. So this, in short, that was very fast, and I hope you kept some of the information. So I think I'm the last in the row of the Impulse 1, but I think since we're still in the mood, everybody can grab a coffee or a water, but please come back, because now we're going to start into the second round of associated partners, of interested other collaborators and stakeholders in that field. And they will be introduced by Jasmin Schauer. She's our coordinator of the Design Campus.
Ja, wir atmen nur einmal ganz kurz.
Well, let's take a short breath in and out, and we'll proceed with the second round of fast inputs. As we already heard, we will see different projects introduced by different experts that you will later have the chance to talk to during the roundtable sessions.
Laura Miguel Baumann, we've already met her in the panel this morning. She's the Secretarial General of the World Crafts Council Europe. And yeah, she told me that she's like more than 14 years managing cultural projects that are related to crafts. And we're very curious to hear more about the World Crafts Council.
So hi again. I'm from the Workers' Council Europe. We are an organization, non-for-profit, based in Belgium, and well, based not physically, but our address is Belgium. And we are committed to the promotion of crafts in Europe. We want to present here. We recently got funded from the Creative Europe program for a network, and I want to present here some of the activities that we are going to develop in the next 2.5 years. The project already started in last year, and we are already developing some of them. And the network is, I thought it was changing every 20 seconds, so I don't know what is happening. Yeah, so the network is about 35 organizations from 22 European countries. We have members that are national, regional, or professional representatives, as well as affiliates. Here you can see in the map, it's not about EU only, it's about the wider Europe. You see that we are missing some countries from the southeastern Europe, so I invite you to apply to membership. So one of the first activities that we were developing is this training program on digital training. It's online master classes. We had 50 participants from all over Europe, and we are going to do a second edition next year, which will be launched at the end of this year. We also have this building and craft design enterprise program. It's an online training for crafts professionals on craft business management, and it's going to be launched next month. We will be hosting 30 participants. We also are preparing a MOOC on circular economy and sustainability. It's going to be launched this summer, and it's going to be, you can engage online till next year. So it's going to be a really long program, but you can pop in and out whenever you want. It's open for the next 1.5 years. We are also partnering the EU in the New European Bauhaus program, which means to have a more beautiful system and better Europe together. We are launching a series of webinars on related topics to the New European Bauhaus. The next one will be on circular economy in the month of May. For our members, we are holding each year a General Assembly and also an annual conference related to a specific topic that is important for the craft sector. This is from the last year, which was held in Lisbon, and this year is going to be held in Malta in July. On the 6th of July, we have the annual conference, which you can follow online as well. Related to the chosen topic from the annual conference, we are offering to our members and stakeholders a deeper insight on the chosen topic with this knowledge exchange residences. These are from this year. Next year, we are going to have 2 more. For craft professionals, we are offering an exchange so that they can spend 2 weeks in another workshop in Europe to exchange knowledge, exchange skills. They are getting some funding. It's only 400 euros, but at least it's something to go and travel abroad. We are now in the middle of the European Craft Days. We offered also funding for 250 craft professionals and organizations to organize activities all around Europe, and they are taking place this week. We have also some activities here in Dresden, I guess. As you know, it's very important to know the state of the arts, and we need to collect data. That's why we are doing some research and some surveys that will be launched we have 2 surveys each year. This year we are going to launch one on the EU market for crafts, and another one about the resilience of the craft sector. And we also want to promote European crafts, objects and pieces, so we are going to be present at 2 main fairs. The first one will be in Révélation in Paris in June, and then we will be also showcasing European crafts in Contemporánea in Barcelona in September. And yeah, that's it. Sorry, it was so fast. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So up next is Andrea Tomasi, the editor-in-chief of the Homofaber Guide and project manager of Homofaber events.
Thank you. So big break and let's go. Maybe you are all familiar with the Michelangelo Foundation, so just a quick recap. We are based in Geneva. We are an international privately owned non-profit organization dedicated to promote and preserve fine craftsmanship. Next one. Okay. Our aim is to champion craftsmanship, endorse and enable artisans to sell their work and to sustain and grow their businesses on the long term. Collaboration is key, and our growing network currently counts with 130 international organizations in over 45 countries. We have three main lines of action to fulfill our mission, being artisan engagement, events and education, all developed to create a cultural movement to inspire and make craftsmanship socially, culturally and economically relevant for younger generations. We engage with artisans with our Homofaber Guide, a curated digital platform that allows audiences to connect with an international craft community. Over 2,500 artisans are already presented from 40 countries in Europe and beyond in Asia and South America. The three main sections on Homofaber Guide are artisan and manufacturers, galleries and museums, and experiences. In May 2023, we will launch an updated version of the guide with new functionalities and a new user experience, and we will launch the first African country, Zimbabwe. To be featured in the Homofaber Guide, artisans can apply through the evaluation tool and have a dedicated profile, or be recommended by the Homofaber community, arts and crafts associations, designers, artisan hunters, and I really hope some associations will join us in this mission. Homofaber is an event. Is our flagship biennial exhibition in Venice and across the city. It celebrates fine craftsmanship through themed exhibitions created by international experts in craft and design. After the two successful editions, we are now preparing the next edition next year. Doppia Firma happens every year in Milan during Salone del Mobile and spotlights the alliance between design innovation and the tradition of great master artisans. Around 20 creative duos co-create unique pieces focusing on a common concept. This year the theme is playfulness. So we take one designer and one artisan. Our strategy for education is to make craft professions appealing and viable for future generations, to develop the employability of young craftspeople and makers of the Homofaber community, and equip them with effective learning tools so they may find a way. This year, the Foundation is launching a new 3-year program to facilitate the first employment steps of young craftspeople and create conditions for master artisans to transmit their skills and develop their businesses without financial pressures. So we will launch this program this year with the 20 duos, so one master artisan, one student, and they can work together for 6 months. That's it. Thank you very much. If you have any question, here I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Next, I would like to welcome Martina Bevenuti on stage. She has founded the Made in Europe in 2014, and in your previous experience, you've been always strongly involved in the promotion and enhancement of human, artistic, and natural world heritage. And I think this is a fascination we all share with being in this room.
No, okay. So, as it was said, Made in Europe was created in 2014 at the beginning. And my purpose, I'm Italian, French, and a little bit Swiss, well, I have many nationalities, was to represent European crafts and to create a new tool to bring visibility to craftspeople from all over Europe. have a mission, is to bring visibility to craftspeople, to support them in their difficulties, for example, with digital technologies, and we try also to coach them for marketing issues. So we try to have a dialogue with craftspeople and bring some solutions to them, especially with aging craftspeople. Our targets are crafts professionals, youth, because we discovered through surveys that youth is very interested in crafts, but not so aware about crafts professions, so they would like to know more. And very important, we address consumers because of their behavior in consumption behavior that has to change. So objectives are, we discussed this already many times, raising awareness among population, professional people, private consumers, everybody. We enhance the importance of transmission, and we do this through many activities and events. Of course, our main tool is the portal that has now 1,700 crafts professionals from all over Europe. We also have articles, we try also to promote the crafts themselves so that people better know what crafts are. We have a very strong communication strategy. We do interviews, we have newsletters, well, like everybody, and we have quite an intense social media activity. Articles, as I said, are very important because they help us to show people what crafts are. This is a huge problem. We are part of the Crafts Council Europe and also of the new European Bauhaus, so we are enhancing the value of sustainability embedded by crafts. We are part of the Heritage Alliance because we are very much focused on traditional crafts, on crafts related to territorial identity. And we have now many European projects, especially in Erasmus. We just started a Horizon project, which is a very big one, but we started with Erasmus, which are all focused on teaching aging craftspeople and also young people with this is a project, for example, where we are producing VR full immersion videos for young people, so they will discover the atmosphere of a workshop through virtual reality. So we will address schools, for example, or disadvantaged young people that are looking for a vocation. And this is the Horizon project that we just started. The leader is the Computer Science University of Crete, so it's a crazy thing where we will record digitally the gestures of craftspeople, but it's just started now. And we have many other initiatives with this one, Mécénat d'Artisans, is with historic houses associations, and other are in which we support different initiatives from other partners related to the heritage, cultural heritage preservation. And we are, of course, open for collaboration because together we are stronger. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martina. The next input is by Alina Scherban from Chorism. Your 8-year experience in philanthropy and community development, supporting social entrepreneurs in Roma communities, connected you to the world of crafts and is the motivation behind the project.
Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here representing Chorism. Do I need to? Yeah, okay. Can you still see me or should I? We are a non-profit based in Vienna and Bucharest. We started working in 2018 and we have a wide experience in looking at communities of artisans and how they kind of actually struggle with their livelihood. So one of our motivation was to support and connect artisans and turn their heritage craft skills into livelihoods. And also one aspect which was kind of clear is how do you bring these unique products into the global supply chain. So initially we had a methodology process that took 3 years. The pandemic came, so it was even more complicated. But in our process, it's important to look at our teams as equals. We developed a roadmap and digital tools, and I encourage you to join our conversation on technology and digitalization of craft. We see the 3 competencies that are absolutely necessary in bringing traditional craft on the global market is the creative, the artisan, and the business developer. So this aspect of business is very important when you look at processes of production. So of course we bring visibility. We would like to grow the network. So we started with we started with 11 organizations who helped us in developing the methodology. Please go on our website. We have lots of stories and also the collections that resulted from the process. And I think in our mind, we see these roles of the artisan, the creative, and the business developer as equal in their endeavor to start working together and bringing a collection to the market. At the beginning, we were matchmaking and sending designers around the world to work with artisan communities, but we realized that this is not a sustainable model, so we transferred the ownership and the responsibility to the local level. So localization was one important aspect in our development. And we have now 3 roles that come from the same region, and people can apply for an incubator. So initially we said, okay, it's great to kind of engage with the methodology, but how do you grow in becoming a kind of important player in the craft sector? So we came up with an incubation process, and you can apply as a team of 3 of the 3 competencies. You are getting a grant to pay for the production costs, and very importantly, 75% of the budget should go to the artisan, because usually in such collaborations, the artisan kind of remains as more of a commissioned hand than a person who is brought in the limelight as a contributor to the collections. So you get a grant, then you get the support from our networks. Of course, we have a very extensive network of experts who are in the jury, and also during the incubation process, which is an 8 months process, give input on the design and on the collection, and of course on the commercial aspect of the collections. And you see here some of the reflections on why would an artisan, a creative, and a social entrepreneur participate in our program. I think the most important aspect is the common understanding and the common collection process that they take ownership of, and we have a process of royalty. So each of the members of this pod, we call it as the peas in a pod, the 3 members receive the same royalties. And also we are now in the point of developing our own distribution structure, where they would then be able to sell their collections. Very important, and maybe also relevant for the network and for the context of Made in platform, we are very interested in attracting more and more artisans and makers on our platform. Of course, the more people we have, the easier it is to do a matchmaking. So now we have 30 new collections coming up in 2023, and we present their stories and their results in 2 major events. We will be hopefully at the Paris Design Week in September, and at the Vienna Design Week as well. These are the 12 new projects. Please feel free to browse through our website and read about their stories. I'm happy to have also a Portuguese basketry collection coming up. And yeah, thank you so much. Join us for the discussion. More to, I will show the tools if you, thank you.
Thank you, Alina. Der nächste Vortrag ist von Ina Turinski.
Thank you, Alina. The next presentation is by Irina Turinsky, who studied in Regensburg. And after that, she got her master's degree at Burg Giebichenstein. She's a freelance designer and also a creative associate in Burg Giebichenstein. So welcome, Irina. Thank you. Thank you very much, Yasmin. So I'm here as the co-curator of Sustain Lab. And may I take you for a few minutes to Burg Giebichenstein, the University of Art and Design. The castle was built in 1950. Oh, sorry, not the castle itself. The collection was outsourced in 1915 from the Handwerkerschule der Craft School of Halle, and it was first made into a arts school. Today we have 1,000 students and 20 different study directions, so it's one of the largest art schools in Dresden. It is especially renowned for the great workshops. There is a wood workshop, a porcelain, a photo workshop, a screen printing workshop. There's a media center, and in all those areas, the students are developing their professional knowledge foundations, but the education really is also about visions and creative design. And that is why it's so fitting that in 2020 we founded new research rooms, the so-called Borg Labs. These are really about experimental design, about researching artworks, and we as the employees of the Borg are developing different projects. We help students with their projects, but we also have our own research questions. One of the first projects is the BioLab. Designer Hannah Kannberg, biologist Falco Mattes, and biotechnologist Johann Bauerfeind are cooperating in the BioLab, and they are dealing with the question on how can microorganisms be used to co-create bio-based materials and products. So first of all, the two-dimensional Petri dish was abandoned for a three-dimensional growth surrounding, and the question that arises really is how can we form these researches into products. As you can see here, this is a shoe last that is put into a nutritious solution, and this first layer that forms is supposed to be a nutritious environment for microorganisms, so that might actually be a shoe that is grown. So the parameters, of course, of the final shoe will depend on the microorganisms that we choose, but also on the nutritious solution. So that will really influence on the thickness of the final material. The second lab is Sustain Lab. I am working with the environmentalist Henning Franschig, and we deal with sustainable processes and how these can be integrated into design processes. We had a look at gypsum in one of our projects. At the moment, 60% of the total gypsum production are reprocessed gypsum from coal-powered fire plants. And now with the coal phase-out, of course, the question arises of what will happen with this material resource gap that is going to come up. We've had a look at the different material flows. We had a look at the current situation and on how these situations are changing, so which new material flows will have to arise. Gypsum is also a byproduct in
sewage plants when we reprocess phosphorus. So that's especially interesting if we speak about these waste management processes and make new materials out of them. Yeah, as you can see here, it is a very strategic approach. We work quantitatively, but also on a speculative level and integrated design approaches. And there was another project where we had a look at different approaches. So this really focused on traditional processes of clay. Clay is then put into a form, it is then pressed, and it is later on hardened by air. So it's a very interesting technique that is kind of undergoing a renaissance in architecture. And for us as designers, it was really interesting to have a new look on the smaller perspective on this traditional process. We integrated robots. It's very similar to 3D printing. There is a bed of dry clay. We integrate humidity, but very specifically on different points. So then we have this process of forming, and the rest of the bed is really just to give structure to this process. Now, with Simon Maris, we also have the third lab, the X lab, where we deal with artificial intelligence and robotics in cooperation with Alexa Steinbrück, who is a software engineer and an artist. So in Borg Labs, we are trying to bring together artistic research and really be an intersection with design, knowledge production, and thus really have a very concise approach that is centered in our research institute. At the same time, we try to collaborate with regional and local players, and these collaborations are also going to be part of the roundtable that I will be a part of later on. So I'm looking forward to the discussion. Thank you very much.
Danke, Ina. Ich möchte jetzt als nächstes Markus Weber.
Then I would like to ask Markus Weber to come to the stage. We'll talk about Denkstadt Erzgebirge. You're a wooden toy maker, wood designer, and you're a lecturer at the Faculty for Applied Arts in Schneeberg. And you're involved at Denkstadt Erzgebirge, and you deal with the future of artistic crafts, I guess. So I look forward to your presentation. Well, I hope so. Hello, everyone. Denkstadt Erzgebirge is a network project of the Seife municipality where we focus on toy making with new projects and approaches. I do that with the wooden toy master Wolfgang Braun. The project was initiated in 2019. The town of Seife is known for Christmas tourism, and in summer it is very popular for hiking and outdoor tourism. But people usually visit Seife really to buy wooden Christmas toys and decorations. So wooden toy maker, this craft has been in existence for more than 200 years. We have 130 factories here in this area, but the number is fast decreasing. And that is why we have this network project, hoping that we will find young people and will be able to raise their interest in handcrafts. We use social media primarily in order to promote our projects, but we also have a workshop in Seife where we also have a conference room so that we'll be able to meet with our partners to think about different ideas and to really put them into practice, to try them out. This is a very popular space used by many people, not only craftspeople actually, and amongst others, we also have different medical students and experts, pediatricians, and caregivers who were interested in using these facilities in order to find a new career. So what we do is we try to establish different workshops. We promote them using social media. We use 3D printing, for example. And one workshop I would like to focus on is a jewelry workshop called Schmuckes Erzgebirge, Sparkling or Mountains. We use tiny wooden ornaments and objects. Jewelry makers use these wooden objects to produce bracelets and other jewelry, as you can see here on the different slides. They were then exhibited at the Grassi Trade Fair and at the exhibition at the Wasserschloss Chemnitz. We have different important cooperations, an important pillar of our work. We cooperate with different universities. For example, as you can see here, a representative from the University of Fine Arts in Warsaw, with the Borg University, and of course the Schneeberg Faculty of Applied Arts. Students visit us for 3 weeks, up to 1 week, and they work on traditional, historic themes, material-related themes. You see students from the Faculty of Applied Arts here dealing with different materials and preparing an exhibition at the collection here. The Burg Giebichenstein University of Arts visited us last year to deal with different wooden elements. We were focusing on different production techniques and cooperated with different craftsmen in order to produce products that were ready for serial production and that also benefited the craftsmen and women. This slide shows 2 different outcomes. On the left-hand side, you see wooden castles in the air that are exhibited at the moment. But these products always require a certain audience and publicity, and that is why we are part of the innovation competition Freigedreht. Kreative Sachsen, Creative Saxony is also a project partner, as well as the Savings Bank. It is very important for us to support such endeavors. We do not only focus on design, but we also cooperate with different research institutions, for example, with the Fraunhofer Institute for Material Sciences and with the inventor of the nutcracker, as you can see here. And we tried to come up with new concepts for incense smokers by using these shape alloy methods. These project partners visited us and intensely dealt with the production of wooden toys. We have a very extensive network of so many different partners, and we are happy that we are also part of the next expert conference close to Ostheimer, with Ostheimer. Our project really is based on the different networks. Since the beginning of 2023, we have been able to award different scholarships, so you can apply for that. If you have an interesting idea and are able to implement that within 3 months, of course it should be related to crafts sector, and then you can apply. The next slide shows a very close exchange and cooperation with different partners. In August, there will be the next festival for wooden toy makers, and I would like to warmly invite you to participate. It will be very interesting to listen to different experiences from different toy makers. So that was a brief summary of what Denkstadt Erzgebirge does. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the discussion.
Vielen Dank, Martin.
Thank you very much, Martin. Up next, we have Martin Bereuter from Bregenzer Wald, who has already been founded in 1990 and so far has incorporated over 100 associations in Austria. Thank you.
Herzlichen Dank.
Thank you very much. My name is Martin Bereuter. I'm a carpenter and architect and also active at the Werkraum Bregenzer Wald. This is an initiative of around 90 different craft factories from the Bregenzer Wald region. Next slide, please. Our region and the way we appear, our appearance is very important for us. Here, highlighted in the dark green, is the Bregenzer Wald region, 1/4 of the Vorarlberg region. We only have around 30,000 inhabitants, split around 23 communities and municipalities. Our members are different carpenters, different shoemakers, cabinet makers, etc. Factories consist of one person, sometimes up to factories of more than 100 employees. Next slide, please. We always feel tension between rural areas and urban areas. This is the Rheintal region, and I guess you could compare it with the Ruhr region, the industrialized region in the west of Germany. We do not have large cities, but smaller cities. We have many different medium-sized companies producing elevators, etc. And our workspace is based on the contrast between the rural area that is close to the different factories and attracts the workforce. When the workspace was founded in the 2000s, we came up with the idea that we wanted to counteract that and make sure that not all of the workforce emigrated to the bigger industrialized areas, but we wanted to keep them in the rural areas. Apart from the craft sector, tourism is also very important for our region, and we're always torn between the old and the new traditions and innovations. Here you can see the Kaufmann factory. As you can see, we have a very traditional area here, and these factories always incorporate the next generation of the family. So we always have different tensions between new ideas and traditional aspects. Combining traditional crafts and contemporary design is what was the underlying idea of the Handwerk and Forum that takes place every 3 years, that tries to incorporate local factories and international regional designers. We have different concepts for restoration, production, and maintenance. Here you can see the early days in 1992. The very first time this competition was initiated by a local crafts association on the occasion of its 200th anniversary. The workspace, which was founded in 1999, was built on that idea and has since then organized this competition every 3 years. We have an international jury, and the slide shows Peter Zumthor. We have a very long history with him, as well as Hermann Czech from Vienna. What is important is that we always discuss the different objects and pieces. You can see him looking at a bench that was awarded with a prize, even though it was a replica. The discussion was about what capabilities and skills a craftsman or woman requires, and why it was awarded. The reason behind it was the huge quality of the piece. This is hosted in old workshops. Here you see an old butcher's house where the new objects are being exhibited. There's an old sawmill that we use and that we opened up for the exhibition. The old building structure, therefore, is once again in touch with new designs and new ideas. And the whole event is not only used by experts and specialists, craftsmen and women and designers or professional experts, but also simply by families using it for their family afternoon. Based on that history, we came up with the concept of our Werkraum building. It is based on the design of a professor, and we really wanted to have our own venue. The house was built thanks to EU funding, so I really would like to highlight that. It was not our own funds entirely, but also with the help of EU funds. Here you see one of our exhibition formats displaying an exhibition of around 250 objects from different competitions. Another exhibition format where we used our building, the showcase function of our building, to also showcase scientific and research projects and to really relate or really link handcraft projects and products with science and research. There are other issues that our association would like to deal with in the future. I have a few pictures on that. For example, working with children. Today, children are used to going to a playground for their entertainment and not being in a workshop and really using their hands. But once they have the opportunity, they automatically adapt and use their hands. We also want to provide different insights and outlooks for future trainees, for example. Here we work with future hairdressers to show them different potentials and opportunities. Apart from that, in 2015, we founded our school for students starting at the age of 15 and older. We want to give them different prospects for future traineeships and apprenticeships, for example. There is different business knowledge that we would like to convey and help them identify a future profession they would like to pursue. Another interesting project was a construction project with a workshop that was aimed at conveying knowledge in the area of safety and security. This is just held by screws, and we wanted to give students different insights into the structure. Peter Zumthor is an architect that we've been working with for many, many years. We're currently exhibiting 40 objects from his workshop. He designs his projects in a hands-on process with no digital tools, and that is what the exhibition focused on. It runs until mid-September 2023. And one note, after a 5-year break, Handwerk and Form, our competition, will be hosted once again in 2023, in autumn 2023. I look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you very much. Our last contribution of Fast Input 2 is going to be a video by Tobias Zerger in cooperation with the technical design of the Technical University Dresden. Unfortunately, he cannot be with us in person. That is why there are some collaborators from the District Guild Meissen, for example. And we also have Ulrich Goetheke with us from the Chamber of Crafts Dresden that are going to be part of the panel discussion later on. The video is going to show robotics and renovation, so let's start.
Ja.
So, hi there. My name is Tobias Zerge, and I'm a research associate at the Chair of Technical Design at the Technical University Dresden. Unfortunately, I cannot attend today's event in person. That's why I pre-recorded my Pecha Kucha presentation to introduce our project. Last year in September, we started our Science Ministry-funded project with the topic Robotics in Renovation. We teamed up with the District Guild Meissen, which is based in Riesa. It is a rather unusual combination of practice-oriented crafts and a rather theoretical university research approach, so that was really an exciting project. Robotics and in renovation of monuments, that might sound a little strange at first, and at first glance I have to agree, because conventional robotics usually prefer the same work, and they always want to do the same in clean industrial halls at best and do the same jobs 24/7. Restoration, refurbishment of historical buildings is usually quite the opposite, because every building, every construction site is totally different. The walls and floors are not perfectly flat. There is a lot of dust, dirt, and rubble on the floor. Renovation is therefore only something that can be achieved with a lot of manual craftsmanship. You will need experienced and trained craftspersons to do that. In view of housing shortage and, above all, sustainability in the building sector, the subject of renovation is becoming increasingly important. But as we all know, there are many problems. Demographic change, we have fewer skilled workers and fewer young talents, so that, of course, the work is often dusty, dirty, and exhausting, and many times the appreciation for these professions is also lacking. That was our motivation to start the project, because we do believe that there are potential scenarios where robots can support the work in building renovations. So for us, it's important to really stress that we are talking about human-robot collaboration. What we do not want to do is to completely automate the work of craftspeople. That is, in my opinion, impossible. We would rather want to see robots as a tool, as an assistant to the craftspeople. Robots can take over jobs that are monotonous, exhausting, dangerous, or uneconomical. Robotics is a principle that is very broad. We have mobile robots, flying drones, humanoids, or the classic six-axis jointed robots. And robotics in recent years has developed enormously. We have new types of sensors, gripping tools, faster computing power, and even self-learning algorithms like artificial intelligence. So robot systems are becoming increasingly capable of performing more complex tasks. At the same time, robots are also easier to operate. You don't really have to know programming to control robots. I just want to point out the Dresden-based startup BundleBots. We also see first robotic applications in the skilled trades, for example, at the stonemasons, carpenters, or a painter's robot, for example. Our project focuses on the old manor house in Riesa as a reference building. That is where we want to develop the topic and also test our first prototypes. We started in September last year and did initially a research. We went to trade fairs and went into exchange with many craftspeople. My project colleague really initially analyzed the entire Mason building from a restoration perspective. He categorized the various damages that we would have to have a look at, and it really became clear in that process that surface treatment was a topic coming up again and again. So especially the removal of surfaces, for example, removing layers of plaster or paint from masonry, wood or metal. So these are all very similar processes that differ only in the tool selection and process parameters, but the basic procedure is very similar, and it is a work that is time-consuming, monotonous, and exhausting, and also kind of dirty. And that is where we are at the moment with the project. Now we have to have a look at how and under what conditions we can come up with a possible system of interaction. Also regarding other scenarios, we have a wide variety of requirements that must be considered from the perspective of the users, technology, the preservation of historical monuments, and of course also economic efficiency. The project should thus be seen as a door opener. We are really looking at what would make sense economically and how would we have to shape such a human-robot collaboration system. We are currently writing an application for a follow-up project so that we can continue in this complex field. We are convinced that robotics can support people in their craft if the technology is developed in a human-centered way. It is so important to involve people, to take their skepticism and possible concerns seriously, and to consider their needs. In my opinion, it is also very important that the technological sovereignty must lie with the people in the crafts sector. Co-determination and participation are absolutely necessary to develop such disruptive technologies in an economically, ecologically, and socially sustainable way. I find your project with the Maiden platform extremely exciting. This knowledge from the crafts, the skills to make them accessible, that is something that we will definitely need in view of our fast-moving and digitalized world, so that we do not lose this knowledge, these skills. An exciting question for discussion would be whether or to what extent such a digital platform would perhaps also be conceivable for software programs for robotics in the crafts, so in order to make that more accessible for craftspersons. Again, I'm so sorry that I cannot be there for the round tables in person to discuss with you, but if you have any comments, queries, criticism or any other input, please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a nice rest of the event with a stimulating and exciting input and exchange. Thank you.
Auch ich möchte mich
All right, so thank you very much from my side to all those who gave input. So I'd now like to hand over to Thomas Geisler again for our next point on the agenda. Thank you very much to Yasmin for this great introduction, this pleasureful moderation of the fast input. It was kind of an aperitif, something to take before lunch. But yes, we really wanted to take a moment of tranquility before or after these many fast information to really focus on those different perspectives of how we can collaborate within crafts. So we will now have a very sensual view onto crafts now with a film from Praise of Crafts. It is a film by Donata Webers. That was especially in this location presented in 2019 with an exhibition Inspiration Crafts. So I don't want to give too much words. Donata Webers, the filmmaker and the general director of the State Art Collections, will then be with us to speak about the project. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Donata Wenders, Marian Ackermann. Please come to stage. Maybe we can do that standing up, so it's a bit more dynamic. Thank you for this great multi-sensory experience. I think it is really great to know more about this project and how it was perceived, conceived, and also to know more about your artistic approach to a topic that is really hard. As it is so difficult to transmit crafts via images, it can easily be seen as romanticizing the crafts, but we can see that this is a living craft, even though it is very traditional. I think in total there are 14 films, right? 12. But yeah, it's a real series of crafts and films, and these are all different regarding different nuances. So later on we're going to have a look at another film at the end of our conference. So we're really looking forward to that. The floor is yours. Let me start, Donata. Just a small note beforehand for the State Art Collection Dresden. It has been one of our focuses for a couple of years because we are so intricately interwoven with crafts, especially if we have a look at our roots with the Chamber of Arts. And there is this deep connection between arts, our objects, and crafts. We did this great project together. So let's go in medias res. It is called Praise of Crafts. And yeah, it's really about this valorization of the crafts. It is a very positive approach, right? So that really shows how precious crafts are. So the idea that we started with came about after this whole journey of having a look at which crafts are still present, because they are kind of dying out at the moment. So for me, it wasn't really about explaining what this craftsperson or that craftsperson does. It's really more, as you already said, is about this preciousness of the craft, of the material or different materials, and really getting in depth with these materials. So that becomes a process like a learning about life itself, and that has really just vanished from our everyday lives. And that's why I thought this manual labor must really be appreciated in order to really show how purposeful this work can be. All the craftspersons that I spoke with, that I visited, they were so joyful. Their lives felt so meaningful, and because they did something with their hands that was meaningful to society. The lasts that are fabricated, we don't really know anymore how much attention to detail is going into this copy of individual feet. And it used to be normal, but we don't really remember. So for me, it was really important to show that without explaining how precious crafts are for society. You just said it. We really started on our journey through Saxony, and we had a look at different crafts, places. Many of those businesses have gone out of business because they didn't find a successor. So it was kind of a documentation. This family of Steyr with their artificial flowers, they weren't able to, stay in business, but at the same time you had this artistic approach. It's a black and white film. It's very abstract, and as I see it, you're really trying to communicate the sensuality of a craft. With this custom shoemaker, we've really seen that it is kind of a process with a lot of rhythm, also those movements. So when this shoemaker opens his arms, it's a bit of a dance. Smell, of course, is important to crafts, but apart from that, all senses are part of this movie. Maybe you can go into detail on that. Yes, exactly. The sensuality is so important, as in my other movies, because all crafts have their own identity. It is really this interrelation with the material, with what I do. And this relation, really gives meaning to lives, and we are losing that in our modern society. That's why I put so much focus on it. The hands are so valuable in order to understand what materials we are working with. How can I use materials to do what I love? Is a leather the best material for a shoe? There are wooden shoes or shoes made of different materials. And to really go into this process of finding my favorite material, in order to create something that is useful to you, this sensual aspect is something that's really hard for me to put into words, but it's really important for me to realize where is the fascination for the craftsperson. So what are they passionate about in their work? And I hope that the film really shows that this spark is ignited, because it's really my interest to show something that can spark this passion in other people. It's not always about going to university and overthinking everything. Maybe a person will be a perfect manual laborer. So the crafts have for some time, at least in my personal history, not seen the appreciation that they should have seen. And I think we are kind of appreciating this whole sector and seeing that this is what gives value to our life. What is more valuable than making a nice dress with my hands, for example? This is something that also in my life has not been appreciated enough, and that's why I found out, or how I found out, that this is really what our lives are about. Doing something with our hands, getting to know a material, or regarding indigo printing, for example, there was another film on that. This relation with the textiles. Only some textiles are apt to be performed with certain patterns. So this whole material aspect is so valuable for me in my filming. It's a time, of course, where we think a lot, where we are very rational, and where time is, as a negative factor, ever important. And with your films, you are trying to focus more on this positive aspect of time, of being able to allow more time for processes. Yes, exactly. Maybe I don't need in that respect, for example, as many shoes. If I have a good shoe, then it will be my friend. The pair of shoes will be with me for at least, well, let's say half a life. So you will be walking through life with your friend pair of shoes. They are so durable, and they will be part of your life. And then suddenly it makes sense that to pay a lot of money. We already talked about models with this shoemaker to make something more economical for young people, or more acceptable for young people, new payment models, for example. And I think that we need to leave behind this fast, rapid change mentality of buying a new shoe every year because they're just not durable. That is also really related also to maintenance and repair of shoes. So we kind of rediscover this relation with the objects that we own for a long time. So I mustn't always buy new stuff, and I really have a relation, a connection to this object that I wear on my feet. And I think that is also developing at the moment. One more aspect I'd like to focus on, and that we were in a lot of discussion about, that's transculturality. The Japanese Palace is a center for transculturality because our collections have always been in between Ottoman culture, Saxon culture. So these have really copied from one another, and culture is already born in between. So those two films that you've started with, the craftspeople were speaking, and then you stopped using speech of the craftspeople. The shoemaker didn't speak at all. And you had a reason to decide to do it that way, because we both thought that crafts speak a universal language that is beyond Eurocentrism, that is beyond colors. And we will see the indigo printing that is beyond blue. Ichard, for example, can be found in many different cultures. So could you please focus on that? Because this was a process for you where you've discovered that crafts can be a universal language. So let me go back to your comment that it was like a dance in the film. Yes, it's a lot of movement. It's a lot of body movement. And that is a language in itself, a language without words. And it would have been really interesting, and we really thought about that, to go to Japan, for example, to there have a look at a custom shoemaker doing the same things, but totally differently. And yeah, really having a look at how culture and traditions of different everyday aspects influence this whole process. So the things that we need every day in Japan, of course, they're wearing a lot of wooden shoes, and in traditional shoes you have to make very small steps. So these differences, it would be really great to research them and talk about that. And it would be great to not have to have subtitles and overthink everything, then just really to put it into images, to put it into the sounds, so that people can experience that without having to read. And yeah, as you already said, for me, this sensual approach was really important for me. So this connection to Japan would be definitely interesting for us in Saxony, especially. There are, of course, many differences in Japan. The person, the craftsperson, the artisan themselves will also be a cultural monument. They are considered monuments themselves. At the same time, the tradition of errors, of imperfections and mistakes, that is something that is even more important in crafts there, and especially if we look at robotics and crafts, that's a very important thought in my view. Exactly. So in Japan, we will not see a distinct guild that is not striving for perfection. So perfection is the ultimate goal. On the other hand, if something is broken, if a vase, for example, breaks, if if something is smashed, then we have a different culture, and this is about durability. So if things are mended, then a vase, for example, would be mended with something precious, with gold or golden thread and textiles. So things are actually improved. They are made more precious than they were. And that is also something that is related with the attitude towards life that we can learn so much from. So if an object has been broken, if it was mended, it was so beautifully mended that it would be even made more precious than it used to be. Perfect. Those were perfect last words. Last but not least, so that everybody is already looking forward to the second film, could you maybe tell us which crafts you have documented here in Saxony and what more is to come? So I've filmed a flower fabricator that especially used natural materials, that also did the flowers for the Queen's hat, but unfortunately they've gone out of business. I've filmed a weaver. I was allowed to be with them. Pottery. So we've really concentrated on Saxony in this first film project phase. I've been with a smith. It was a very young person that reminded me a little of the shoemaker that we've seen, because even though everybody said it's no use, then he said, well, I'm working as a smith and doing and creating tools with my hands. And he's really successful. I've also filmed instrument makers for violins and also for brass instruments. There is a hand shoemaker, and I'm still looking for a crafts person. If there is a tailor that you know in Saxony, that would be great to have a contact. And the wood turning would also be very interesting for me to film. What I am doing at the moment is something about writing. It's a bit out of step with the rest of the project. I am in contact with the Ethnological Museum Herrenhut, and it is a craft that we take for granted, be it writing by hand or writing with the computer. It's still manual, so I wanted to also focus on that. And yeah, wood turning is also at the moment being filmed at the moment. I will also go to see a nutcracker production. Indigo printing has been a film project that I already did. That was also very close to my heart because surprisingly there are similar printing arts all over the world, and it is still a craft, even though it is so common. At the same time, it is slowly dying because people don't know how to proceed. So I don't think I'm going to stop after those 12 films. I am really enthusiastic about those traditional crafts that I've come up against. So I really want to continue my work, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to all the craftspeople that I'm going to meet. Thank you very much, Donata. So we invite the whole audience to come back here in November, where we will have a look at all those 12 films and a great exhibition. Thank you very much.
Vielen Dank.
Thank you so much also for building the bridge to Japan. We know that this is a European project, and therefore looking beyond European boundaries is very much appreciated. So thank you very much, Donata, for also talking about repairing things and how important this aspect is in crafts, and that it really makes crafts stand out from other areas. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, I do not want to take up much more of your time. Instead, we can all look forward to our lunch break. And before heading towards the lunch break, Ute and her colleague will join me here to give you some organizational insights. Hello from my side. Before going into the lunch break, I would love to talk about the round tables. There will be 4 round tables: collaboration, craft design, technology, science. This will deal with the question of how such collaborations can be successful and how crafts people and designers can actually meet, get into contact, and what are successful forms of collaboration or potential forms of collaboration for the future. The roundtables will be hosted by Maja Weider, Jakob Strobel, Ivan Manjolovic will keep the minutes. Information on the different experts can be found in the conference folder you've received at the beginning of the conference. Ina Turinsky from Borg Labs will be part of this roundtable. Joanna Horn from the Saxon State Ministry for Economic Affairs. She's responsible for the Saxon Design Prize. Heinrich Ehnert, whom you've met during the panel discussion, as well as Alina Scherram from Corvisom, will also take part in this roundtable. So that will be the first roundtable. Roundtable 1 will later take place behind me. You will see different blue cubes scattered around the room, and they always mark the area where one roundtable will take place. So the first roundtable will take place behind the screen, and we will also identify this area with number 1. Number 2, transfer of knowledge and intangible cultural heritage. This roundtable will deal with a question of different techniques and how to document this intangible knowledge of craftsmanship. What are different possible locations for conveying or passing on the knowledge, what to pass on and what not. This roundtable will be hosted by Koralika Vlajo and Michaela Cik. Leila Atik will keep the minutes. We have different guests here, for example, Andrea Tomasi from the Oma Faber Guide, whom you've met already, Ms. Ben Yavuti from Med in Europe. The third round table in the back of the room will focus on crafts and society and deal with the question of how crafts can shape our future society. What is the political influence that crafts can have on our society? How can the crafts sector shape or influence society? And how can social design and crafts be used together as a force for the better? Maria Kola will host this roundtable together with Maria Donovic. Experts are Mr. Weber, Dorothee Hemmer, Martin Bereuter, and Matthias Röder from Konglomerat e.V. They have not spoken yet, but they will be part of the roundtable meeting, so you will meet them after lunch. And the fourth roundtable will focus on new technologies and crafts. The question will be, when are new technologies important for the crafts sector? How and when can digital tools be used in crafts? Uwe Bodenschatz will host this roundtable. Experts are Michel Goos, Thomas Ihle, and Ulrich Gödecke as well. You've met Ulrich Gödecke as part of the panel discussion this morning. A few organizational remarks. We will go on our lunch break, and when we meet again, you can choose one of the 4 tables. The hosts will introduce the experts once again, and after around 30 minutes, we will give you a small acoustic signal that will be the opportunity for you to change to another round table and participate in a different dialogue or conversation. And once everyone has taken their seats, we will have another 30 minutes of roundtable discussions. It is now 1:05, so we will meet again at 2 p.m. sharp. So we have almost 1 hour for our lunch break. We will be serving soup in the catering area. Dig in, enjoy your lunch, and we will meet again at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Gut, ich möchte mich noch ganz kurz bei
Well, just a very short note to our live stream audience. Thank you very much for having been part online with us. I kind of forgot to welcome you. I'm so sorry for that. But the whole afternoon, the whole time, there were 40 to 50 people listening into us. So thank you very much as well to our interpreters who have done a great job. Thank you. It was extreme speed and it was a simultaneous interpretation, so they really can look forward to their pause. So thank you very much for those listening online, and yeah, I would want to welcome you back in the afternoon. Thank you.